Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. Thanks for spending some time with me today because in this video, I'm sharing with you 10 things I would never put into my home, and I don't recommend you do either. Now, the first thing I would never put into my home, and as a matter of fact, when I see it in a home, it's like walk out of the door immediately, no, don't want to live here, don't want to be in this place, is slate tile. Now, there's a time and a place for slate tile, and it does look gorgeous when it's perfectly and immaculately kept and clean, which is very hard to do. Slate is a great material for outdoors. It's great for putting on a patio. It's great for an accent stone on your home. But inside, I don't love slate because it has a texture to it. And it's an organic material, but it's not like a smooth, ultra polished material like travertine or marble is. And I think it also is very style specific. Like, I honestly think slate to me says craftsman. So that's an instance where I see it working. Also remember that it's a dark material. And when you put something really dark on your floors, a couple of things are gonna happen. One, is gonna absorb a lot of light. And maybe you want that, you wanna live in the cave energy, which I appreciate for you. I want my home to be light and bright and beautiful. So I wouldn't put a dark floor in my home. The other thing that always happens with a dark floor is that it shows everything. It shows all of the dust, any little bit of dog hair, whether it's from a Cavalier or another dog. Yes, it's gonna be all over the place, and you're gonna see it on a dark floor. So those are all things you have to think about and consider. Slate, for me, it's a no-go. I wouldn't put it into my home, and I've never recommended it to any of my clients that I've worked with, so I don't recommend you to put it in either. Another material I never suggest, I would never put into my home, and I don't typically recommend for other people, is actually concrete. Now, concrete is not a bad material in itself, okay? There's nothing wrong with it, and aesthetically, I do actually like concrete, and you can do a polished concrete floor. Great, you can do a polished concrete countertop. Wonderful. For me, unless we're really working on a tight budget or it just really makes sense for the design overall, I'm not going to recommend it. There are alternatives to that, tile that looks like concrete, that has the same texture, feel, finish, but doesn't have the downsides. And what are the downsides, you're probably asking? Well, polished concrete floors, what a lot of people don't understand is that your home shifts a little bit and moves, and sometimes you get hairline cracks in the slab of your home. That's not always a structural issue, but if you see that, you obviously want to have somebody out to look at it, right? Like a structural engineer to make sure your home isn't like cracking in half. But if you have polished concrete floors, you're going to see that. So even if it's not an issue, it will be an issue because you're going to be looking at it and seeing it there on the floor. I don't love that. Now with concrete countertops, the issue is that concrete is a very porous material, and it also isn't necessarily the strongest. Like, it can be damaged, but I know you're thinking like, but they use it on sidewalks and driveways and stuff. Yeah, but it's a little bit different. So you have to constantly be sealing the concrete in order to maintain it and keep it looking good. Maybe if you're building an outdoor kitchen, that's something to think about there, but I probably wouldn't suggest putting it into a kitchen unless the architectural style really calls for it. And quite frankly, I haven't yet had someone I'm working with who actually has a home that requires that. So it's not a conversation that typically happens, and it's not a material I typically suggest. Sometimes you will hear about a material or a product and you're thinking about it and you can't decide and you don't want to make a mistake and you're like, gosh, should I, shouldn't I? It's good to ask some people their opinions, whether that's your friends or people around you, family members. You want to get feedback on whatever you're thinking about doing, and so ask somebody. And if you don't have somebody you ask, or maybe you just don't trust the people around you, which design-wise and stylistically, let's be real, you may not, you could always ask a designer. Like me, you could always book a one-on-one interior decorating and design consultation with me where I can answer any and all of your questions. Be sure you head to the link in the description box down below or go to intro.co/GarrettLeChic to book that call, and I'll see you over there. Another material I never recommend putting into a home, and it's not because there's something wrong with it, livability or quality-wise or whatever, it's just that it's not the vibe, okay? It's just not what we're doing, and that's glass tile. I don't love glass tile because it's very indicative of a certain time period, early 2000s, and that's just not what I want for your home. There's also a couple of things you have to know about glass tile. Repainting a wall, that's less of a commitment than tiling. So when you're thinking about a color scheme in your home and you're like, I'm committed to it, I want everything to be this, really think about whether or not you want those built-in elements to be that. And glass tile is one of the easiest places where you find a lot of those colors. If you like glass tile and you want it in your home, okay, I don't live there, I don't make the rules, you can do what you want and that's fine, but just remember, glass is clear. And this is an issue a lot of people had with glass tile because you can see through it and you can see the trowel lines from when the mortar was applied and the tile was installed. You have to be very, very careful when you install glass tile. Otherwise, you're going to see whatever's behind it and that just kind of ruins the aesthetic. Like you're looking at your beautiful glass tile that you put in, the accent, the detail, the aesthetic, whatever, and then you just see like the grooves and the trowel marks behind it. It's not really giving what needs to be given. Now, another material that's similar that I never recommend is onyx for a very similar reason. Onyx is a beautiful natural stone and you can get it in slabs and it is gorgeous. Gorgeous, don't get me wrong. It's like one of the highest end materials you could put into your home. But onyx is known for being opaque. You can see through it. And that gives us such a wonderful opportunity to backlight stone. Right? It's gorgeous, it's expensive. If you have ever been to a hotel, a bar, a restaurant where they have a backlit stone bar, it's onyx. There's a lot of like crystallized quartz in it or whatever. I'm not a scientist, okay? I didn't come up with how that stuff is made, but I do know the details. Onyx is beautiful, it's very expensive, but you can see through it. So if you're thinking about putting it in as a countertop, for example, you will see whatever substrate is underneath it. When countertops are installed, usually you have like a plywood board underneath it and then they get glued down. I don't want to look at my beautiful, expensive, high-end stone countertops and see the plywood and glue underneath it. It's just not giving or fulfilling the fantasy that I need, okay? Onyx is also a relatively delicate material. It's not the most durable stone out there, so it's probably not your best bet to go with. If you're looking for something high-end, I always say, go to a slab yard, go to the stone yard, have a look around and see what they have and fall in love with something beautiful. But let's just make sure it's something that's actually livable at the same time. Another material I just never suggest for anybody to put into their home is peel and stick. And I know peel and stick is very DIY-able, it's very accessible, a lot of people have access to it, but peel and stick is not meant to be permanent. It's a temporary thing, solution, whatever, because it's not going to last forever. And you can get peel and stick that's really good quality and you can get peel and stick that is just very bad quality, okay? You may need to cover something up for a little bit. Peel and stick is an option for that. A lot of renters love peel and stick because it is temporary. There's a few things you have to remember or be careful about when it comes to peel and stick. Number one, yeah, you can burn it. If you put it behind a cooktop, you can melt it because it's plastic and that sometimes happens. So I don't recommend you do that. I would rather see you put, a real tile behind your cooktop rather than peel and stick. But, there's an answer for everybody. Here's the big thing though. Peel and stick usually leaves behind a sticky residue when you remove it. Whether it is a peel and stick wallpaper or tile, be it your backsplash or floor, whatever, it's something you have to remember if you're doing that like renter DIY friendly hack. We may need to apply something underneath it. Usually when I see people do this, they'll take like painter's tape and craft paper and tape the craft painter down and then put the peel and stick over top of it. That is an option, but it still is not always the right answer. And also check reviews of whatever product you're looking at to see what other people say if when they took it up, it left that sticky residue behind. Another material that I don't typically recommend is actually an 18 by 24 inch tile. And you're probably like, but that's not really a material, that's a size or a shape. Yeah, but I don't recommend it. I don't love it. And hello, hi there. You better be careful standing there like that. He has his paws on the back and armrest of this chair and his back legs on the sofa. Hi, hello. Arden is very agile. He's a little puppy, so he loves to be adventurous too. Did you want to come and say hello? Is that what you wanted? Okay, you need to take your own head back and I'm not gonna support it forever. Okay, you're so cute, Arden. Do you wanna come and sit in my lap or do you wanna go sit on the sofa again? Because you're not gonna stay on there this entire time. Life of a cavalier, Dad. Okay, we were talking about the 18 by 24 inch tile. I don't love them just because of the proportions of it and the placement of it. Usually you see these on floors. Sometimes you'll see them like on the walls of a shower. I don't love them because I think either something smaller scale or a different size altogether is just better. And okay, let's just get into the scale portion of it, because the scale of it is just big. These are oversized tiles. I don't love it because these have like a railroad track like effect. Okay, they're linear. So whichever direction you lay them in, the room is going to look longer in that direction. And it's not that it looks bad. Like, you know, sometimes these look really great and, you know, hey, it's a good quality and the finish on it, everything is nice. It's just the proportions of it that I don't always love. I do like something that's a little smaller because it has less of that kind of railroad effect and it has more of a brick effect. I think that looks really good. But it's basically just a large subway tile, right? And there's nothing wrong with subway tile. It's actually a classic and timeless, and I really like that. But the oversized is just not for me. Instead, I would opt for either a 12 by 12 or 18 by 18 inch tile laid at a 45-degree angle. I just think that's a way more timeless way to install it, to use it. And it doesn't matter what the material is actually or what you're going for. If you want that concrete look, okay, cool, like lay it at a 45-degree angle, who cares? You don't have to do a 18 by 24 inch tile. For me, I would opt for something a little more classic instead. Now, another material I never recommend, I don't suggest, I don't like, and I don't bring into my home is anything that is faux gold. And specifically a faux gold finish on a metal, because it doesn't look real and it never holds up. When it comes to metal, don't get something that's like a fake gold painted looking brass thing, because you're much better off going with authentic materials that actually look like what they are. So if you want metal in your home and you want the brass look, I would suggest going for brass. I know that's a little more expensive, but you get a little bit more quality, and that's what you want. So limit yourself and be sure you're looking for things that are genuine, authentic, noble materials. Okay, so it is what it looks like it is in your home. That's gonna send a luxury, high quality message, and it will be more durable in the long term. And we're at the point in the video where I have to mention this. I know everyone asks you all the time to join their subscriber community and hit the subscribe button, but I would greatly appreciate if you found value in my content in this video, that you would take a moment, hit that button and join us, become a part of our GarrettLeChic family, and help me out in our goal to reach 100,000 subscribers. We would absolutely love to have you as a part of our community. To me, a subscriber isn't a number, you are a part of our GarrettLeChic family. So please join us, hit that subscribe button, and I would greatly appreciate if everyone watching could give this video a like. Now, another material I never, ever recommend, I never suggest someone put into their home, I would never put it into my home, I don't recommend it for you, is a frieze carpet. Wall-to-wall carpet is not my favorite thing, and it's not a lot of people's favorite things, but some people do love it, you know, specifically people that live in colder climates. And frieze carpet is what you're gonna see from the builders, right? It's where it's a cut pile and it's like twisted up and it's all kind of like crazy little strands. That's frieze. And the problem with frieze is that it doesn't retain its, you know, volume, okay? It gets crushed as you walk on it. So very quickly, over a short amount of time, it will lose volume and get smushed and pressed down. Then it starts to get matted and tangled, and it just never looks as good as you think it will. It's difficult to clean. It doesn't stay looking good very long. And typically, it's recommended that it has a lifespan of about 5 to 7 years, and that's with regular yearly cleanings. So it is a relatively high maintenance item. What I recommend instead is a loop carpet. The reason I like a loop carpet better is because you can get them in a shorter pile and they have a little bit more resiliency. So they stay looking good a little bit longer. Also, they don't get tangled and matted quite as easily because there's not a bunch of loose threads in the carpet. Frieze almost looks like static you would see on a TV, as where a loop carpet looks a little bit more like an area rug or a high-end carpet. It looks a little more expensive, even though it typically is not very much more expensive. It's definitely worth the upgrade in my opinion. If you're looking to put carpet in your home, I always recommend that you get the highest grade padding underneath as possible with a thinner carpet on top. That way you don't get that really compressed or smushed down look. It stays looking fresher a little bit longer, but it still feels very soft and very comfortable underfoot. Another material I never recommend anybody put into their home is mini stacked stone. This is stone that comes on that like 12 by 12 sheet, and it just looks like miniature versions of stacked stone. I don't love it. I think it looks a little dated personally. And I what is there to say? I just don't like it, okay? I just don't like it. I think it looks dated. It also tends to be a dust catcher, and you can't use this in certain areas. So some people will say like, oh, I love it. It was a big thing with like Tuscan design, right? People would put it on their backsplash. You can't grout this. You can't grout this, so all we have is a bunch of ledges and little things that stick out that are gonna get covered in grease and grime and dust and dirt. Disgusting. I don't like that, so I wouldn't recommend it. I also don't recommend it for a fireplace, for example, because it has the same effect as that carpet we just talked about, where it almost looks like static. It's just a lot of movement. It's a little bit too busy, in my opinion. I don't suggest that. Instead, there's a million other things you could do. If you want natural stone, look for a marble subway tile, you know, a tumbled travertine, that's great too. You could also just do something that's a simple subway tile. That's also really wonderful. Right now, these kind of like handmade looking square tiles are very in, they're very popular. They tend to be very neutral. So if you want something that's in that neutral realm that has a little bit of movement to it, that's a good option too. There's plenty of them out there, but this mini stack stone, I don't personally recommend because I think it's going to date your home. Also, it's just not really giving the fantasy that I think it needs to be given. I think you can do something that's a little bit more luxurious that tends to actually be a little bit cheaper. Another material, and probably one of them that I like the absolute least, I never recommend or suggest, but I am very good at fixing, I will be honest, is a gray floor. I don't like gray floors. I don't like gray floors because wood's not gray. Okay, wood's not gray, and I don't want to hear it from those of you that are like, oh, well, you know, on a boardwalk, the wood turns gray. Do I live on a boardwalk? No, I live in a house. And so I'm gonna opt for something that looks more natural. Even if you're not using a natural wood material, right? Like, you can do a vinyl plank floor, that's fine. Don't do it in gray. Now, like I said, I'm very good at fixing them because color is really great to work with. And even if you have a gray looking wood floor, you usually have a taupe in it. Taupe is a variation of gray and brown. So we can pull a little bit of that taupe into the space, and then we can start layering in a little bit of a softer brown tone, more like a mid taupe brown, and then we can warm the space up that way. I don't love gray flooring, period, let alone a gray wood look floor, a wood look vinyl plank or tile. None of it. Don't do that in your home because it immediately looks dated. It's very difficult to decorate around, and your house is going to feel very cold. So on those overcast days, your house is gonna look pretty drab, okay? It's gonna look like a concrete prison cell. I don't wanna live in a prison, especially if I didn't do any crime to get there. But I also don't think you should do this because it's going to look a little bit dated. If you have it, that's fine. We can work with it. I'm not telling you you have to rip it out. I'm telling you, you need someone on your side who knows how to use color to fix it. So like I said, check out that link in the description box down below or go to intro.co/GarrettLeChic. Well, there you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure you check out this video right here, all about things that are dated and back that you should absolutely keep in your home and not get rid of. And check out this video right up here, all about some haunted design that you should let go because it's holding your home back. I will see you either there or over there.